Hey, what's up everybody, it's Axel, and today we're going to be talking about the Fosi Audio K7. This is a very nice all-in-one DAC amp that's got balanced headphone output, Bluetooth connectivity, microphone input, and even on-device EQ, which I actually measured, and I'm going to be showing it to you later in the video. And I measured it using my Awful Performance 7, which I have in this very nice storage case that I'm experimenting with right now. So this device is available right now on Kickstarter for I think $154. I'm not sure exactly what's the final price is going to be. They say it's going to be under $200, but as of right now, I checked on Kickstarter, it's $154. So I will leave a link in the description if you want to check it out, and let's dive right in. So what do you get in the box? Number one, you do get this power supply, 12 volt DC 2 amp external power supply, wall wart, you know. It's easy to replace. It's 12 volt 2 amp, so if you ever need to replace it or if you lose it, you can easily do that. And then of course you get a Bluetooth antenna, which you can see right here, and then you get a 3.5 millimeter, you know, splitter cable. So it uses female 3.5 millimeter, and if you have a cable that has a mic, you know, use it right here, and it, you know, splits the signal to microphone and analog audio, so that you can insert them right here in the Fosi K7 and use it. And of course you do get a USB-C to Type-C cable, which is this one, and it comes with an attached USB-A adapter. Again, very nice. And of course you do get a user manual, which gives you every information you need about how to use the device. And of course you do get the K7 itself. Now let's look at the K7 itself right here. First impressions, this thing is built like a tank. Like, the body is made out of like this CNC integrated aluminum. To me, it feels very solid. It's slightly heavy, feels premium. It's just like a solid brick, you know. It's a very solid device, and if you grab it and shake it, like, nothing rattles inside, nothing moves. It's rock solid. It's also compact. It's not big, so it won't take up much space on your desk. And the front panel, as you can see, is slightly angled when, you know, upwards, so this makes the display easier to read. If we look here at the bottom, we have 4 rubber feet, which kind of helps keep it stable so it doesn't like slide around when you're like plugging and unplugging headphones or IMs. Let's look at the, you know, front panel here. On the left, you get the 3.5 millimeter microphone input, and next to that, you do get the 3.5 millimeter headphone output, and next to that, you do get the 4.4 millimeter balance output. Above that, this is how the K7 looks like. As you can see, you have 2 volume knobs here and a bunch of buttons on the bottom. And let's look at here. This is the power button. So you press and hold, it turns off. You just press, it turns on again. And when it's turned on like this, if you just click, you can see it's a bit small. The display is a bit small, but you can see the number 2.0 here kind of changes from 1.0 to 2.0. Like, it kind of switches the USB mode from UAC 1.0 to UAC 2.0. This is important. UAC 1 is important if you're going to connect it to like legacy devices or like PlayStation 5 or Nintendo Switch compatibility. I personally tested it on PlayStation 5 and it worked instantly. The microphone also worked as well, so that's very nice. And then we get the input, and if we press here, we're going to go to the Bluetooth. If you press again, you get the optical input, and pressing again, you do get the coaxial input, and then returns to the USB. The output here is just changes this, and this is like a small picture or a graphic of an RCA, and basically it allows you to change from headphone output to RCA. And this is kind of helpful because if you switch to the RCA, it allows you to use this as a digital preamp, you know, and adjust the volume, which is very nice. This is how it should be. So if you have headphones here, you don't need to remove them if you want to use the preamp function, which is really nice. And then we get the EQ bypass function, which if you press, it cancels the EQ, so you're getting the you know, non-modified signal as it is. And if we go here, if I press, it allows me to change the EQ or the microphone. For example, I can change the bass, as you can see here, up to 12 steps or minus 12 steps. Single adjustments. And if I press again, I can adjust the treble up to 6 steps positive or 6 steps negative or reduction, which is again very nice. And if you are in UAC 1.0 mode, if you press again here, it allows you to change the level of loudness of the microphone, you know, from 0 to 10, and it allows you to press right here so that you can mute the microphone. You can see the microphone picture shows that it's muted. Now, I want to say here that these volume knobs are actually fantastic. These are encoders, they're not potentiometers, so what you get here is perfect channel balance, basically. You know, you don't get any static noise when adjusting the left or right, plus there is a textured grip that you can feel right here, and it prevents it from, you know, sliding around and things like that. And there is an orange indicator here that you can see, so it kind of gives you an indication about where you are when you're adjusting it. Let's look at the back, and as you can see right here, on the left, we do get the RCA output if you want to use it as a digital preamp, or if you want to connect it to another more powerful amplifier or something like that, or you can connect it to a pair of speakers or a power amp and control the volume from here and so on. This is the Bluetooth input, which you can connect using this antenna screw-in, and you do get the coaxial and optical input. And this is the USB-C input. It's only used for data, not for power. The power is handled by this DC 12 volt input that you see. Now, since this thing runs on 12V external power, it actually allows it to give you a very strong balanced output, and it keeps the USB-C free. Having also an external power supply allows you to get something like, you know, with this type of form factor. It's not big, so that the power supply is inside, and it also helps reduce the noise, you know, while giving you that powerful balanced output. Now, in terms of the display that you can see right here, as you can see, like, it's 1.5-inch display. It kind of shows you the essentials, the input mode, the output mode, the sample rate, the EQ settings, but it's kind of small. Like, I kind of wish it was a bit bigger. Like, the essentials are easy to read. I can read the sample rate, the word USB and stuff like that, but the other fonts, you kind of like have to look closely to see that. So if you're using this on your desktop, you know, you're probably fine, but like if it's like far away, like here, I can see some stuff, but you know, if it goes farther away, I can see the letters itself, I can see the volume level and the input completely fine. Now, I also tested the microphone input of the Fosi Audio K7, and I have to say it's very impressive. It's very clean, clear, noise-free, and you can independently adjust the mic volume, which is a nice touch. In terms of the Bluetooth performance is solid. It supports like AAC, SBC, aptX HD, and aptX lower latency, but it doesn't have LDAC though. The range itself is great, and I can leave it and go to another room, take my phone, and there's a wall in between, close the door, and it works absolutely fine. No dropouts, nothing. So it's very nice, but when that happened, I was using the antenna. Keep that in mind. Now, let's talk about the sound. And first of all, this has a DAC chip that is an AKM 4493 SEQ paired with an XMOS USB chip, OPA 1612 op amps, and TPA 6120. So output impedance is near zero, so it will not alter your IM's frequency response. And let's talk about how does it sound. Basically, guys, this sounds clean. This sounds neutral, slightly warm, very smooth top end, very powerful low end, no harshness at any level, and absolutely fantastic, great detail retrieval. The level of detail here is actually very, very nice. You can hear everything, and the treble doesn't sound harsh at all. It's actually a very smooth sound signatures. Vocals do sound natural, sound rich, sound full-bodied, proper note weight, great sound stage, absolutely fantastic imaging. And the low end is strong and powerful as well. The bass quality is fantastic. The texture, it's very controlled, very powerful. I will describe this as very musical, very, you know, engaging, very smooth. It's not one of those overly sharp DACs. You know, some DAC amps have that quality that sometimes they kind of lean in to sound a bit analytical or overly sharp to give you that detail. Here, no, you get every detail you want, but it doesn't sound like sharp at all or analytical. I would describe this actually as musical, slightly warm, and very, very smooth. And of course, when it comes to the power output, the balance output specifically is very powerful. Even this single-ended, like, it got you covered for like probably every IM out there, with a few exceptions maybe. And when we're talking about headphones, I think it can deliver a good amount of power to a lot of headphones, except like the super power demanding ones. When we talk about the balance output, but though, it's a different story. Basically, it's like 2000 milliwatts at 32 ohms, so it's really powerful. Now I will go and just show you a few things about the EQ, and then I will come back. Alright guys, so I'm going to show you right now the EQ measurements that I measured of the Fosi Audio K7 and how they affect the sound of an IM. I added these to my Squiglink, but I will remove them as I don't want it to be messy, you know. So these measurements are just for this video, and I chose the Awful Performance 7 for this video because number one, it's my daily driver IM. I'm kind of familiar with its sound signature, and this will allow me to see or hear the type of adjustments that the EQ does to it, and I will comment on that. And number two, because the Awful Performance 7 has a very smooth frequency response, starting from the bass all the way up to the upper mid-range and the treble, so it will allow us to see exactly the type of frequency response range that is affected by the EQ adjustments of the K7. So let's begin. So number one, this is the stock tuning of the Performance 7, and let's start by looking at what the bass +1 setting does. As you can see here, there is not much that's going on, and to my ears I didn't really notice what the bass +1 does. It's a slight boost in the mid bass, you know, very slight boost. Again, nothing that I can, you know, tell you, oh, it does increase the bass or anything like that. Story starts to change when we talk about bass +2, but it's still a minor change in my opinion. Nothing too drastic or nothing that's going to affect the sound that much. But keep an eye on the treble, and as you can see, as we are increasing the level of the bass, you start to notice that the treble is starting to get affected in the, you know, other direction as well. And let's look at the bass +3, and probably this is my favorite setting. What happens here is that, as you can see, there is a sub-bass and mid-bass boost that's very nicely done, tapering off as we reach into 300 to 400 hertz. So you're not getting basically a lot of bass bleed or anything like that. It's just a small amount of warmth. You know, the Performance 7 started to have a warmer tone in its sound signature. But what I did notice is that there was a slight reduction in the vocal clarity and the treble response. And now when I measured it, I kind of start to see what's going on here. And as you can see, starting from 1K, you know, the treble is starting, and the upper mid-range is starting to have a slight reduction. Starts at the upper mid-range, and as you can see, starting to affect everything above 1K, and it starts to get, you know, big, probably at around 6K is, you know, where most of the changes are. So this makes me say, if you're going to use the EQ function of the K7 and you want to increase the bass, if you don't want the rest of the frequency response above 1K to be affected, I do recommend that you slightly increase the treble response as well. And this is something that I measured here. As you can see, increasing the bass and the treble by 3 points kind of gave us a slight bass boost, but it also kind of counteracted the treble and upper mid-range reduction. Here there is still, you know, a slight treble and upper mid-range boost as well, especially in the treble. So if you're increasing bass +3, what I do recommend is that you increase the bass to 4 and the treble to 2. That will kind of give you the bass boost that you need and kind of like minimize, or, you know, the upper mid-range and treble reduction that's going on, so it will leave the rest of the frequency response unaffected. Why did I say increase the bass to 4 if you want it to be like 3? Because if you look here, increasing the treble on the K7 slightly reduces the bass. So this is the setting with the bass +3 and treble +3, and as you can see, it's still, the amount of bass is still less than the just increasing the bass on its own to the same setting. As you can see, increasing the treble slightly reduces the bass, and we will see that with the treble EQ measurements as well. So again, what I recommend, if you want to have, you know, a bass boost, anything above or at the level of bass 3, I recommend keeping it at bass 4 and increasing the treble by 2 dBs. It will give you the same, roughly the same amount of bass boost as +3 on its own, and it will, you know, kind of leave the rest of the frequencies above 1K for the most part unaffected. All right, so let's move on with the measurements, and let's look at the bass +6 setting. Now we're talking about a big bass boost here. So here it's we're talking about 80 hertz. We're talking about like 4 dBs of bass boost, and that's a pretty bass boost. And not only that, we're starting to notice now the upper mid-range and treble reduction that happens after 1K. But the good thing about it is that it's fixed with the treble boost. And as you can see, it's not, affecting a specific treble frequency. It's actually affecting everything above 1K up until even, reaching above 15K. So it's easy, to fix. It's easy to adjust, and it's very nicely done. This is a tasteful coloration. This is kind of like the EQ I would use myself, but I will never actually use bass plus 6. That's a very, very big bass boost in my opinion. Let's talk about bass 9. And bass plus 9 is, we're entering bass hit territory with this setting, all right? Right now, we're starting to go hard, all right? And this is like the High Senior Mega Fest bass plus, territory. This is a very strong sub bass boost. Actually, let me see that. We're talking about, oh man, like 66.7 to 73. We're talking about 5.5 or, I don't know, 6 dBs of bass boost, and it gets even more around the sub-bass region. But there is a loss of vocal clarity, absolutely, and the upper mid-range and the treble starts to get, reduced, which is quite noticeable to me. I start to notice the vocal clarity slightly happens at bass 3, right here at this level. I start to notice some slight reduction. Nothing too much. I will still use it like this without touching the treble, but I start to notice that it's becoming a bit warmer, slightly more relaxed and, chill. And plus 6 affected the vocal clarity for me. This is something I heard with my ear. That's why I absolutely recommend that you adjust the treble to make the upper mid-range and the treble, return, or, make it more balanced with the bass again. Let's look at the bass 12, and this is a huge bass boost. Oh my gosh, this is 100% bass boost here. Like if you look at 80 hertz, we're talking about 9 dBs of gain, and at 40 hertz, we're talking about how much? 11 dBs of sub bass boost. Bass plus 9 and bass plus 12 is huge, in my opinion. The amount of bass boost, like Performance 7 was like a bass head I am at this setting. Sub bass was rumbling all day long, and oh my gosh, it was pretty intense. Bass heads will love this, and gamers are going to absolutely probably enjoy the bass plus 3, 4, 5, and 6, and so on. Anyway, it's nice to see that the setting is here, and keep in mind I didn't measure everything from 1 to 12, so I'm just showing you 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, and 9, and 12, and you can kind of like get an idea about what will happen if you use it at 4, 5, and so on. So let's look at what happens if we decrease the bass. Again, you start to notice that everything below 400 hertz is starting to get reduced when we reduce it by 3 points, and there is a slight elevation in the upper mid-range and the treble. The same story repeats itself if we reduce the bass by 6 points, and it gets even more when we talk about bass -12. This is a huge reduction in the bass. So let's look at what happens if we increase the treble by 3 points. Surprising to me is the amount of reduction that we see. It's like going in the opposite direction in a way. And as you can see here, everything above 2K starts to get affected. And I'm happy I chose the Performance 7. It kind of shows us the changes that are happening here. It starts gradually increasing from 2K until it reaches a peak at 8K and, to 15K. In these regions is the most change that you're going to notice. The treble is only adjusted up to 6 points, and this is what the 6 points does. I have to say though, when I increased the bass up to 12 points, like you see right here, I didn't notice, even though this is huge, I didn't notice any bass distortion. And same thing here with the treble boost. I didn't notice any sharpness, sibilance, fatigue, piercing treble, anything like that. It just increased the quality of the Performance 7 itself. And, maybe it will not be the same with every IM. As you can see, the upper mid-range of the Performance 7, kind of like, it's way below Harman. It's kind of like more controlled here. It's kind of more easygoing. It's a bit forward, but it's, even when we increase that treble and the upper mid-range is boosted, we're actually still below Harman level of ear gain, as you can see that at 3 to 4K, and even at the presence region from 4 to 6K, we're basically at Harman. So it never became shouty to me or anything like that. And when it comes to the treble, it became above Harman, but again, surprisingly, it was never harsh or sibilant to me. It just became overly airy and overly crisp, like, you know, like finger snaps, hand claps, high frequency percussion sounds became more emphasized and forward in the mix, but actually very tastefully done. And I think gamers or people who want, you know, to get that treble boost every now and then, for gamers it improves the imaging and you start to hear sounds, gaming sounds with more accuracy and clarity, which will be, you know, very nice because it's not harsh, so it kind of like helps you in gaming. And for people who like it, I think, you know, below 6 is very nice depending on your IM. If you have something like the Explorer, for example, you can pretty much use a treble plus 6 if you like a boosted treble, or, you know, you have an IM that has a kind of relaxed treble presentation or upper mid-range. This will kind of help. And if you have something bright sounding or with an elevated upper mid-range and treble, the negative settings of the treble are actually very nice. You can see here it starts to reduce everything above 1.5K, gradually increasing to the treble, and actually gives it a slight bass boost as well, counterbalancing the reduction that we see in the upper mid-range and the treble. And the effect is more exaggerated if we reduce the treble by -6 points. And again, as you can see here, this is what happens. And again, this is a very nice settings. I have a few bright IMs that I absolutely still like. They have amazing technicalities, and somewhere, you know, between the -3, you know, to 6 is something that I could experiment with and use while increasing the bass boost as well. For me, I would say though, probably this setting is the one that I absolutely loved. +3 or +4 in the bass and the treble. But again, I wouldn't personally use it with a Performance 7 because its level of bass is something that I absolutely like, matches my preferences. But every now and then I get in mood, you know, I get in the mood for a bass boost for fun. You know, some tracks demand that. And when I do that, you know, what I will do is I will increase the bass 3-4 points, maybe 5 points, you know, and kind of like increase the treble a bit to balance it. Overall, I think these EQ measurements kind of show us now what's happening with the K7, and it's absolutely fantastic. That's why they didn't include a setting for the upper mid-range EQ. Kind of explains that. Now we see that it's already affected with the treble boost, and overall the adjustments are nice, and I hope that these measurements show you how to use it. And if you want to increase the bass, you know, if you want the rest of the frequency response to not get affected, you know what to do. Basically just, you know, add a slight boost to the treble as well. It will not increase the treble, it will make it unaffected for the most part. Let's get back to the video. So what's the final verdict with the Fosi Audio K7? Is it worth it? Is it good? You know, I will say yes and yes. It's an amazing device, and frankly, even under $200, you know, it's an amazing device. We're talking about great build quality, powerful balanced headphone output, solid Bluetooth connection, great console compatibility, very detailed and clean and smooth sound, and it has exclusively unique features that we probably will not find in a lot of other devices out there at this price range, or even at other price ranges, like the microphone input and the on-device EQ, something that impressed me personally and makes me, you know, want to use it. Again, it doesn't have everything, and if you need like an LDAC, if you need like a remote control, if you need a bigger screen, this device might not be for you. But I will honestly say my opinion here, guys, just based on the build quality and based on the DAC amp and the power output of this device alone, I think it's worth it. Having a microphone input, having EQ option on top of this device, these are extras. Just for that price alone, as a DAC amp, it's absolutely fantastic because the sound quality gets a double thumbs up from me. Even without touching any EQ, the smoothness, the low end, the detail, it's just impressive. The imaging, the stage, everything here is absolutely fantastic, and it absolutely gets my recommendation. And that basically concludes my review of the Fosi Audio K7. I hope you enjoyed this video and find it helpful. Please like and subscribe if you find this video helpful, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.